Welcome back to another episode of Out Loud Geek, where we discuss news and views about pop culture, science fiction, fantasy, food, cooking, the outdoors, and more. It's time once again for another woeful dose of Warner Brothers Discovery. Once in a while, I get to report something good, and that good news today is that Warner Brothers has canceled its truly awful animated series entitled Velma after 2 cringe-filled seasons on its Max streaming service. But before proceeding, I'd like to ask everyone to please like this video, please leave a comment, please subscribe to support this channel, and please press the bell to receive notifications. Thanks! All of the trades are reporting on the cancellation. In The Hollywood Reporter, its October 9th article is entitled, Velma Cancelled After 2 Seasons on Max, with the subtitle, A recently released Halloween special is the final outing for the animated Scooby-Doo adjacent series. And that's not a bad way of describing it, since it wasn't a true Scooby-Doo series without its titular character. I was shocked when the Velma series was renewed for a second season after the first season had only earned an audience score on Rotten Tomatoes of 7%, while the critics' tomato meter score is only 38%. The second season of Velma has a 13% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, but there aren't enough critics' reviews for there to be a tomato meter score, probably because it was just so bad that most critics weren't interested in bothering with it. In fact, one of the 3 critics who did bother to review it, Randy Jones, who is a top critic, wrote the following. It's painful to see the first POC-led, queer-inclusive version of a long-standing franchise end up its worst, but this is one soon-to-be-cancelled queer show that won't be missed. So even for this critic, the fact that Velma is incredibly woke wasn't enough for him to give it a passing grade on that basis. Instead, he actually did his job and pronounced that it was an absolutely awful show and even predicted that it would be cancelled. Brittany Vincent of IGN Movies wrote, This riff on the classic Hanna-Barbera character is all too content to turn its back on its source material, but it has no idea where to go next. In other words, the Velma series was just floundering. And let's take a quick look at some of the audience reviews. In August, Nicole B. wrote, Absolutely terrible. It's slightly better than the first season, but that's not saying much. Save your time and just let this show be cancelled like it should have been. Also in August, an anonymous audience member wrote, You will enjoy looking at a rock more than watching this atrocity. And earlier in August, Ignacio S., who rated the show with 3 stars out of 5, wrote, An insult to the saga, the first season is undoubtedly one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life. This series doesn't respect the original characters at all. Well, their names perhaps. Because it really just wants to take advantage of the fame of this saga to make money. In theory, it's supposed to be a bizarre, gory, violent, sexual comedy, etc. But in reality, you'll only find a script in very bad taste and devoid of talent. In terms of production, I have nothing bad or good to say. It's adequate. The second season improves, but because the first one is so bad that getting worse wasn't a real possibility. If you don't watch it, you'll be doing yourself a favor. An adult animated series based on Scooby-Doo that didn't actually include the titular character and instead essentially made a mockery of the other 4 was never going to be well received by the public at large. In all likelihood, the only reason that Warner Brothers greenlit this series was because it was woke and it pushed woke identity politics as a primary aspect of its narrative. But the writing was clearly terrible, as the vast majority of people who tuned in to watch it ended up hating it. That's what the vast majority of the reviews say, and I'm not at all shocked given that this has become an all too common problem in today's Hollywood. Push the woke identity politics agenda ahead of good storytelling. I highly doubt that pushing an ideological agenda has ever been taught in a creative writing class as a good way to tell a story, because it isn't. It's the exact opposite. If the Velma series had been well written, it wouldn't have such low Rotten Tomato scores from both critics and the audience alike. But Warner Brothers ignored the fact that millions of people love Scooby-Doo and that they typically associate the franchise with all of its characters being present. Excluding the franchise's titular character from the Velma series was a huge mistake made by the show's producers, as was their undying need to pander to the so-called modern audience, which has only proven itself to be incredibly small and insignificant as compared to the real world. So basic common sense was once again pushed aside and replaced with baseless ideological considerations that led to a horribly written show that most people hated. You would think that Warner Brothers Discovery's chief executive David Zaslav would understand the basic concept that creating good and entertaining content that can attract people to want to watch it is a good way for the studio to earn money, while creating poorly written and ideologically based content that drives people away is a great way to lose money. But maybe he doesn't. Thanks for watching today, and a huge thanks to everyone who has subscribed to our channel. We appreciate your support. If you enjoyed this video, please press the like button, and please feel free to share a comment. If you'd like to help support this channel, please press the red subscribe button, and please press the bell to receive notifications for new content. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Twitter by clicking on the links in the description. Until next time, this is Out Loud Geek.